My name is Jetsina Mukoko. I'm the National Director of the Zimbabwe Peace Project. On the day in question, the 3rd of December 2008, it was just after 5 a.m. in the morning when a group of men and one woman approached my home. They introduced themselves as police officers. I didn't think much about them. So when I was told that they were police officers who wanted to talk to me, what crossed my mind then was I thought that probably something had happened at the neighbors, and probably they wanted to find out if we had heard or seen anything. But on approaching them, I was asked to confirm if I was Jetsina, to which I did confirm. And at that moment, two men held me, one to the left and one to the right. And I was force-marched out of the house, barefoot, without my glasses, and still in my night clothes. And I was bundled into an unmarked vehicle that had a rifle on the floor. I think on seeing that rifle, I immediately recognized that it was no ordinary arrest. I was taken to a house that was not a police station. And I understand this house is in Braeside, somewhere in Braeside, close to where you have the Salvation Army head office, close to the Braeside police station. I think this is where that particular house is. When they took me on the 22nd, we went around several police stations. The first one was Braeside, where they could not take me because they said the female section, the toilets were not working. So I remember that the person who remained there was Takawira. And it was the first time that Takawira and I were actually meeting after I disappeared on the 3rd, and I then saw him coming in on the 8th of December. Indeed, the state acknowledged, and we reached a settlement in September. They were supposed to have paid out by the 31st of October, which did not happen. Was actually thinking that probably the years are going to build up again, but beginning of December, a few days ago, they did credit my account. I take that as a first step. Obviously, we can not say that justice has been realized, because I am aware that I was not the only one who was abducted at the time that I was abducted. And there are people who were also abducted before me and people who were abducted after me. So I think the state has just taken the first step. And I think if we are going to say justice has been delivered, they need to be able to take into account all the other instances of enforced disappearances, and in particular paying particular attention to those who have never been found after they disappeared. In terms of the issues of torture, when they were beating the soles of my feet, they were using 1-meter truncheons. One was a rubber hose, and the other one I think had metal inside, and it was coiled with rubber. That was the most painful of the two. I think this is a method that they have used over the years. A method probably after a while that they knew that the feet would, the swelling would come down. But I think they did not know that with advancement in the health sector, the legs could actually be scanned, and in my case they noted that there were dilated veins that were consistent with the type of torture that I received, which was a confirmation in terms of that. For a number of years, I lived with excruciating pain in my feet. I hardly slept at night. And then on one of the days when I was being interrogated, I was made to kneel on gravel. That was one thing that was very painful. You know, when they told me that you have to kneel on those two mounds, there were two mounds that were put in front of me. I thought it was a piece of cake. But I was very wrong. Because when the small stones started to pierce my knees, the pain was numbing. I literally, it was like I had left my body because of the pain that I was going through. And I was watching from somewhere a woman who was kneeling, going through this pain. So that's what the pain did to me. And it was really painful. And that's so much for the physical torture. But there was also psychological torture. I remember being asked, where did you leave your son? You know, being a mother, it just drives you back. I had had no contact with my family, and here is someone who is asking, where did you leave your son? And my immediate response was, I left him at home. And I didn't know what that question meant. For me, I was now thinking, when I heard people screaming in the other rooms, that probably those voices, one of those voices could be the voice of my son. And I got very worried. And psychologically, that actually nearly drove me mad. And especially the fact that I was kept in solitary confinement. When you are in solitary confinement, you tend to hear voices, imaginary voices. I could hear my name being called out, but I could not see who was calling my name. So it's those kinds of situations that would play out in my head. And I think the pain of also not knowing if my family had been able to get the message that I had been abducted. I think that also kind of took its toll in terms of me being able to cope. But I think one mechanism that I used in terms of my being able to live through this was that I was not going to give them the satisfaction of them seeing me weeping. Indeed, as the Zimbabwe Peace Project, we are saying total end to enforced disappearances. It is a cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment of citizens, and it has no place in civilized and democratic societies. And I think as a country we need to be moving away from using such methods to punish those that we believe are not towing the line with us. It is important that citizens, if someone commits a crime, allow them to go through the process of them accounting for the crimes that they would have committed. But enforced disappearances and abductions are a crime against humanity.